Welcome to episode 7 of Football Is Groovy with Dev and Matt. We're going to try this for real. So this week, there have been some pretty interesting Premier League games and some interesting talking points that we're going to discuss. So, let's just go through what's happened in the past couple games in the Prem.
Yeah, I guess starting off with a very big win for Sheffield United, their first one of the season, so I think they'll be happy with that. Finally getting up and running.
So and it's against Newcastle. So
it is against Newcastle, so everyone knew it would be either Newcastle or Tottenham would give them their first win, so I think they'll be happy with that. Is it too little too late? Probably.
Yeah, probably.
I think, but then again, the way that the season's been going,
you never know.
You don't know.
Yeah.
But then other big result was Man United beating Burnley 1-0, sending them top of the log. So obviously United fans are ecstatic about that, and they've come out of their holes.
They've had a good run of form. So
best in the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah, and particularly away, they've had some pretty good results. 1-0, it's not too convincing, but I mean, got the job done. So
3 points is 3 points.
Yeah, exactly. So ironically, it feels like since Pogba was on the bench, or at least not consistently starting, it's brought the best out of him. And now you're starting to see the much better performances.
Yeah, it's interesting how that can affect a player.
Yeah.
But I think decent performance from them. Personally, I think Luke Shaw might have been a bit lucky not to get a red card for his tackle, which obviously could have thrown the game completely, but is what it is, and obviously no retrospective action for that. But interesting stat was the last time United were top of the log this time of year, they won it. So I guess feel free to do with that stat what you will. But, football fans are superstitious and they like that kind of thing. So you never know.
The same thing was with Tottenham though, wasn't it?
Exactly. So clearly both teams are going to win the league this season. So so a bit interesting. Then obviously City beating Brighton 1-0. I guess kind of expected, maybe not such a low scoreline, maybe expecting a bit more.
I mean, look, at a point it was a really competitive game. It was going up and down
Brighton
the whole
fight.
field. So it was actually very entertaining to watch, and City had a lot of chances.
Yeah.
There was a spell of just 5 or 6 shots over and over, and not really great shots, kind of straight at the keeper. Cancelo had a chance, then De Bruyne had a chance, so it was all over the place. I think City could have easily put it to bed very early.
Yeah.
It was a competitive game, which was good to watch.
Yeah, and then obviously Everton beat Wolves 2-1, which I guess is not really a surprising result, all things considered, the way that those two teams' seasons has gone so far.
Yeah, a bit disappointing for Wolves, though, to be honest. I would like them to do a little bit better. Having him in his injury and maybe not getting the best out of Traore, it hasn't been the best attacking, but Neto's stepped up.
He's done very well.
Stepped up, so it's kind of, I'm not sure what the exact problem is there. They're just not scoring as many goals as they need to beat the teams that they're facing. And at least in my opinion, they're not scoring. You're not seeing Wolves score 3, 4. At least in the other game they just did. There was a cracker, but generally I don't think they're scoring as many goals as they would hope to.
No, of course, I think especially after the heights that they set last season, you kind of expect, obviously they've lost, like you said, Jimenez to injury now, so at least he's back in training, so we could see the Wolves of old come back. But I think that they're improving. Every week they're getting slightly better and better. Unfortunately, obviously Everton now, they also one of these teams who are in good form even without Calvert-Lewin. Yeah. So a big result for them, missing their main man.
But Wolves will now be dropping into the very low in the table. Yeah. So it might be a bit of a concern for them. I think they'll probably be looking at this and thinking they need to bounce back and get some wins in the bag, because they're not very far from the bottom.
Look, they're very capable of getting those wins. There's no doubt about it. So, but obviously pulling it off is a completely different story. I mean, Sheffield were pushing for Champions League last season. Now they've only just won their first game. So. You never know what happens, but I don't think Wolves will be too worried. Okay. I think they've still got the quality players, and with Jimenez coming back now, they have their goal threat back where Podence and Neto don't really have to be the strikers anymore.
True.
So that will be a big boost to them, I think.
Yeah. But that was, what other games were there? That's pretty much
Yeah, that was
pretty much it,
that
right?
was definitely the last game for this round. I think we can move on to.
No, there's one more particular game.
You sure?
Yeah, I think there was.
No, I don't think there was one.
There's one more game, which is unfortunate that you're wearing that shirt today.
Through and through.
Yeah, so Tottenham draw from a late winning goal again.
Yeah, kind of
versus Fulham.
Golden thread of the season for Tottenham, unfortunately. Get the early goal. Kind of shut out the team early on, and then 70 minutes comes along and
park
the bus, and you forget how to play football and goal time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this can't keep happening. That goes without saying. But I mean, It's gotten to a point where it's like, if you count up the games and the points that Tottenham's dropped from, I don't know if you saw from that, from since they beat Man U 6-2.
Yes.
The number of points and how Man U's bounced back from that defeat. Completely the opposite reaction to Tottenham.
Yeah.
So it goes without saying that this is, at least in my opinion, really a big red flag.
For me, the frustrating thing, especially as a Spurs fan, is Tottenham aren't playing bad football. It's not that we're playing how we were playing before Pochettino got sacked. So we're still scoring goals. We're still looking positive. It's just we then got to sleep after only scoring one goal. And the reason Liverpool and Man City win the league is because they score 3-4 goals every game. So even if they concede a late goal, it's 3-1, 4-1, and they still get the 3 points.
Yeah.
Obviously, following lots of Spurs accounts now, you see fans complaining about the style.
Yes.
And something has to change, because if you take away the late goals that Tottenham have conceded this season, they will be clear at the top by a fair margin.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to think back to the West Ham game, conceding 3 goals in the last 15 minutes of the game.
Honestly, yeah.
Obviously, you have to give credit to Harry Kane for his goal and Reguilon for the cross. That moment's a brilliant, showing why he's the world-class striker that he is.
Yeah. But even on that, like you can't keep justifying Spurs' game plan or gameplay based on Harry Kane always scoring, but then always drawing or losing the game. Like it becomes a meaningless statistic.
Exactly.
More that if Harry's scoring goals but Tottenham's are winning, it doesn't really help that much.
You just have to look at his stats this season. Played 17, scored 11, assisted 11.
Yeah, his individual performance is amazing. So obviously he's doing his job up front. That doesn't seem to be a problem.
No.
But also 1 goal's not enough.
No,
it's stressful to be playing 1-0 at 80 minutes. Yeah. It's stressful.
The thing that I'm not understanding at the moment is Jose's team selection. Obviously with yesterday, he started with Winks, Sissoko and Højbjerg, and then had Ndombele. So the only 2 real out-and-out attackers were Kane and Son.
Yeah.
Which means, okay, the 2 of them together could win you games.
Yeah.
But you can't rely on them all the time. And yes, Ndombele, he's great, but he's the attacking midfielder. He's not going to be scoring 15 goals every season.
Yeah.
So why he's gone with playing Sissoko as a winger, I don't know. When you've got Bergwijn, Bale, Lucas, Lamela, all of them sitting on the bench when they could be filling that role, because Sissoko is poor. I understand he started out as the right midfielder, right winger, particularly in his days at Newcastle and when Tottenham signed him, but he's certainly evolved into that kind of holding midfield, and that's where he's excelled in the season and last season. So to now play him out of position, I'm not too sure if he's trying to accommodate Harry Winks into the side or what the situation is, but I just don't see the point of it. Because it's taking away an attacking option. Whether you put one of those wingers in or bring Dele Alli in and then you play Ndombele and Ali together, I don't understand it.
It's obviously defensive.
But why are you going defensive against Fulham?
I agree. Because it's like you've got 3 wing options that we talked about that you can choose for on the right wing, but you're not playing any of them.
Exactly.
Not one of them. So that to me doesn't make that much sense. And
should we send him our video from last week?
Yeah. No, I mean that one's a bit confusing because you have a lot of attacking options, and like we mentioned that when Bergwijn plays, you seem to get the best out of Harry Kane and Son. Because of you've got this guy who just does a lot of hard work and grinding and pressing. So, yeah, that one's a little bit confusing. But then I also saw Oreo started.
He did start.
There were some moments where he was caught out of position, and
as is the case with him.
Exactly. He takes the ball up, he tries to get through a couple of guys, and it's this really pointless endeavor to try and dribble through two guys at once. He's inevitably losing the ball, and he's just completely out of position. And then he starts tracking back, and I was watching him run back behind the defender, and I'm just thinking, please don't pull him, don't. I'm waiting for that hard shoulder or something. You get so nervous watching it. So, I don't know if Doherty, because of his red card.
If I remember correctly, it was 2 yellows. So I think he was on the bench, if I remember correctly.
Was he? Okay, well, still, that was a little bit nerve-wracking. So it's just, I agree the formation is a little bit of a concern. But I think in general, the gameplay or the tactics is flawed at this point. Yes. I think it's safe to 100%. Say that regardless of who the players are, yes, the players obviously impact the tactics, but this idea that you can play defensively, score 1 goal, and park and play defensively for the rest of the game in the Premier League does not work. It just doesn't seem to work. All the attacking all the teams in the Premier League have goal scoring capabilities if you give them the ball.
Precisely. Which is what Tottenham did at the end after 70 minutes.
That's what they do in every game. They let every team attack against them. If you let West Ham, which is, I would also argue, traditionally more of a defensive team, they will also score 3 goals against you in 10 minutes. So it just
just look, Everton did it. West Ham did it.
Yes.
Newcastle did it. Fulham did it now.
Yeah.
Teams have done it throughout the season to Tottenham.
Yeah. So that's for me the biggest highlight. It's like the tactics here doesn't make sense. So I would completely, I agree with you. I'd honestly put Dele Alli in at this point and put him as cam and put in Bergwijn at the right wing, and maybe Højbjerg and Sissoko at the back.
I maintain still Tottenham play their best football when they have possession.
Yeah. When
they're slow on the ball and they take their time and they build their passes. That for me is when Tottenham are at their best. I understand, yes, we can play a good counter-attacking game, but you can't counter-attack if your attackers are Kane and Son.
Yeah.
Because
just those two.
You can't counter-attack with those two. So it'll be interesting now to see, because obviously Mourinho has admitted that there are problems, that this is not the way that their plan should be working.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see now in the next couple of games what happens.
I just wonder why it's taken so long to admit that this is a problem, because I would have said that after the West Ham game that this is a problem.
Well, everyone was complaining about it then already.
Yeah.
Is why are we conceding these late goals? Even games that we were winning, why were we conceding late goals? Yeah. And it's tough because Tottenham don't have to concede these late goals. It's their own undoing that's causing these late goals. It's not that other teams are bar Lanzini's strike. But it's Tottenham's mistakes that are costing them.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the other teams being great. I admit you have to still put the ball in the back of the net, but Tottenham are giving them those chances. Yeah. They're not making them work for those chances.
Yes, 100%. And I think probably just solidifying the point is that this is a problem, is that now Arsenal are if they win this upcoming game against Crystal Palace, will be 4 points clear of Tottenham. And if you think back just 3 weeks ago when Arsenal were in 15th place and there were questions around relegation zone, and Tottenham was in top 3, tight, challenging for the number one position.
That's the funny thing. At that time, Tottenham were first, and everyone's saying, Tottenham are real title challengers this season. Arsenal, I think they were in 16th at that point.
Yeah.
And Arsenal on the relegation, and now they could be 4 points away from each other.
Yeah.
So, look, do you put that down to Arsenal finding form now? Do you put it down to Tottenham losing their form and all of these mistakes?
Both. Obviously Arsenal have had some, they're starting to win some games, and they've obviously changed things because they're playing their younger players. Aubameyang's getting on the bench. So they've seen that something's not working, and they're changing it and dealing with whatever comes from that. So Tottenham need to do the same. They need to change what's going on. The tactics need to change completely, and just see how that works, because this isn't going to work for sure.
No. The way that this is going at the moment, if Tottenham had to carry on playing like this, then they can forget about the title, they can forget about Champions League.
Yeah, forget about the Champions League, absolutely.
They can challenge for Europa League.
Yeah.
But something has to
100%.
change if they want. And the fortunate thing is that Tottenham don't have injuries at the moment.
Yes.
So they can change freely.
Yes, exactly.
It's not going to be difficult for them to change their game plan. Obviously, it comes down to practice is a lot harder than the theory, but they certainly can do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a matter of actually
they have the squad depth.
Just figuring out what to do. And I maintain that I know it's not Jose's game, but possession is when Tottenham looked at their strongest. So
yeah,
we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, just gonna have to wait and see what the changes are, if there are significant changes, hopefully, and report back on that in hopefully a couple games after some wins. But so City won their game, so now they've gone into third place on 32 points, and the top 8 teams is very tight. I mean, it's
so close.
It's like a couple points margin. Ever since Liverpool let their lead slip, everything has now really gotten much tighter. So I would imagine the next couple games you're going to see the table top and turn after every single game, pretty much.
Also, it highlights the importance of getting the win.
Yeah.
Because Tottenham didn't lose, but they dropped points.
Yeah.
And now they're slipping down the table after one game.
Yeah.
So it certainly highlights the importance of actually making sure that you get those 3 points, because you can almost bet on the other top 10 sides, I guess, almost now, on getting their 3 points.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to assume that if you don't win, you're going to go down the table.
Yeah, well, statistically, I mean, I was just looking at how many teams on the same number of points, and I think it was 5 teams on whatever it was, 29 points. And you go, okay, well, 2, if not 3 of them are going to win their games.
Mm-hmm.
So you can bet that for the next weekend, some of those teams are going to be on 32 points.
Correct.
Same thing with, maybe not, but Man U, Man City and Liverpool, one of them is going to win. One of them is going to draw, at least statistically on average. So it's like, you gotta win your games. If you, at least in Tottenham's situation or any other club that wants to get into the top 4 spots.
Well, you just have to look at Arsenal.
Yeah.
They're now winning their games and they're moving up the table.
Yeah.
So it's certainly an interesting season. It's obviously the polar opposite of last season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every team is still in it. I mean, even Arsenal are in it if they win. And that's the scary thing, is that the team so far down who was mentioned in relegation battles actually could still potentially be in a race, maybe not for the title, maybe for top 4.
Maybe for top 4.
So
you never know. Yeah.
There's still a lot of football to be played in the season.
Yeah, no, and it's obviously really good because it's competitive, so it's going to be very interesting to watch as the rest of the season unfolds.
Yeah.
But yeah, one thing that's pretty interesting is the number of free transfers that are, or freely available players at the end of this coming season. And obviously everyone knows one of them being Lionel Messi. So everyone knows that I guess maybe it's still up for debate whether or not he's going to leave Barcelona, but I think he's going to.
I think he will.
The question is where he's going to go. So at least in my mind, there's kind of 2 options. It's really Man City and PSG at this point.
Well, obviously with Man City, you've got the Pep Guardiola connection. But Sergio Ramos, who's also one of the free agents, was talking about how he's been promised that him and Messi will be the focal point of a PSG team.
Yeah.
So
this is really interesting. I really think this is probably one of the most interesting combinations, because I would personally regard Ramos as the best, if not possibly the best, or at least in the conversation for the best defender in the world.
I'd certainly say the best Monday defender.
Sure, but if you're talking best defender right now, it's either him or Van Dijk. It's that's it for me. There's a lot of good defenders. There are a lot of good defenders, but for me, him and his role at Real Madrid, he's been pivotal, and he was unbelievable in the campaigns of winning 3 Champions Leagues in a row. So
no doubt about
king. But the idea of him going to PSG and then having this insane attacking team of potentially Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, I mean, it's deadly. It's an insane.
That's not a front 3 you want to see lining up against you in the Champions League.
No. You've got a World Cup winner. You've obviously got Messi, 6-time Ballon d'Or. You've got Neymar, who's serial winner.
Neymar.
I mean, fairly middle-aged team, so it's a well-balanced side of experience, but also upcoming and talent.
Not to mention they have a manager who's obviously very highly rated now and been there for 11 days and he's won his first trophy.
Yeah, obviously talented manager.
No, absolutely brilliant. Walk into a club like that and you win your trophy. But on a serious note, I mean, Pochettino working with a squad like that could honestly be incredible.
Oh yeah.
I think if you just look back at the football that he was playing with Tottenham, if you can play that kind of football with Tottenham, imagine what he can do with likes of Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, not even mentioning the other players of the club.
Yeah, no, I mean, they have plenty of talented players. That being said, also a couple with their contracts expiring, so the likes of Draxler and Di Maria that could be seen leaving the squad. And those two obviously, I mean, well, Draxler not having the best campaign at PSG, but Di Maria definitely, I would think, a very good addition to that squad. So had a great career at PSG, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think the midfield might be the question at PSG because they don't really, in my mind, have a full-out cam that is a controlling, really centered around.
Well, I mean, it's midfield. Interesting that you say that because obviously with Pochettino going there now, a lot of people are saying, apparently he's going to take a whole bunch of Tottenham players to PSG now. Yeah. Primarily Dele Alli and Hugo Lloris have been mentioned a lot. And obviously Dele Alli is the guy who could play as in that number 10 position. So that could be your answer to that number 10.
It could be. Would I believe it to be? No. I would like someone in that PSG squad to have some common sense. No, I mean, it just doesn't fit to me, to be honest.
Yeah.
You've got World Cup winners, you've got Copa America winners, you've got Champions League winners in the squad, and then Dele Alli commands the midfield.
Yeah, you need someone with a fresh cut.
Come on. Oh, jeez. I mean, it just doesn't fit for me. So I think that they would like someone of the likes of Depay. I think.
Coincidentally, another free agent.
Coincidentally.
But now, would you play Depay as a number 10?
100%.
Would you?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying he'd be the best 10, but he's I think more than capable of playing as a 10. Maybe he's more of a right wing or left, as a wing, but no, I could see it happening. It's on the books. If he's a free agent, clubs will be looking.
Yeah, of course. No, it'll be interesting to see what happens within the next year at PSG. Obviously, transfer window is just open now.
Yeah.
So players are allowed to leave. I don't think anything will happen now, being mid-season. I think mid-season is never really a good time to change the team around too much. It's only there for filling gaps and all of that, which you need to, which PSG don't need to do.
Yeah.
So I think we'll have to wait until the end of the season if we see any movement from Messi and Ramos.
Do you think Lloris would actually go to PSG?
Look, Lloris is obviously getting old. And we know Mourinho does tend to like the younger players. So I know Dean Henderson has been linked with Tottenham. So could I see Hugo Lloris moving? I mean, obviously being French, going back to France, that's always on.
That makes
now
sense.
that Pochettino's there, even more so.
But I mean, I gotta say, I feel for Keylor Navas. Man, I feel for the guy because he was the number one keeper at Real Madrid. They brought in Courtois, completely sent off a keeper that had helped them win 3 Champions Leagues. So he's not a decent keeper. He's a fantastic keeper. Keylor Navas goes to PSG. Now they bring Hugo Lloris. That's basically saying that Navas is on the out.
Yeah,
it's got to be. You can't have 2 keepers like that.
That's the crap thing about being a goalkeeper is you're either in the starting lineup or you're on the bench. But do I think Lloris would go to PSG? I don't think so personally. Okay. I mean, obviously you can never rule it out, but for that reason that Navas is there, I don't think they'd look to sign an older keeper.
Right. I don't
think, obviously with Buffon going for that one season, but I mean, who wouldn't take Buffon?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I think
it's a slightly different story there.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to keep an eye on PSG.
Oh, definitely.
And how Pochettino does with them.
Yeah. Another interesting free agent is Pogba. So it's a bit of a interesting situation because I think they have the option to extend the contract to 2022. So it's not as if he's truly a free agent.
Yeah.
There is that option. I think they will extend it. I think they will keep him on for that extra year. But just because of how he's playing now. So if this keeps going, there's absolutely no reason to end that contract with him. But coming 2022, when that actually does come to an end, do you think it makes sense for Man U to keep him in the squad? But even with how he's been playing now, does it make sense?
See, my thing is I don't see how he fits into the Man United squad at the moment. Because you really have Fernandes as your number 10, your attacking midfielder, and then you've got your McTominay, Fred, Matic, the deep-lying midfielders. You don't necessarily have a traditional box-to-box midfielder playing in that lineup. Obviously, there are two on the bench in Pogba and Van der Beek.
Yeah.
Neither of them are playing.
Yeah.
I mean, Van der Beek had a great performance in the Cup now, and then he's back on the bench making memes. Yeah. So I don't think box-to-box midfielders are in Ole Gunnar's game plan. I mean, certainly when you've got two guys like Pogba and Van der Beek who are outstanding midfielders and could very well walk into most Premier League starting lineups.
Absolutely. I mean, I would still like to see Van der Beek play more.
I'd love to see him play more.
I think from that perspective, I mean, there was some talk about him potentially leaving already. There was
of course. I mean, if he's eating this much bench, then
why did he?
Certainly, as his agent, kind of almost obligated to say, listen,
another club
we need to reassess this.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Do you go on loan? Do you get sold? What happens? So, look, it'll be certainly unfair if he has to leave. I think he's certainly a talented enough player to deserve a starting position in the United. But obviously, then again, they're the informed team at the moment. So, at the same time, why change what's working?
Yeah, fair. I mean, you gotta give a little bit of credit to Ole Gunnar here because he was getting a lot of slack for not putting Pogba in line, and it was all about Pogba's not playing well. How are we going to change the situation? And then the answer to that was bench. That's just how it goes. If you don't play well, you're going to not play. So credit to him in that, he seems like a guy who wants to keep everyone happy and he doesn't want to step on people's feet, which I think at some point you got to stamp down authority. So I think credit to him in that he put Pogba on the bench when he needed to be, and that sometimes I think could either make or break the player, which in this case it looks like it's made him, and he's playing much better. He wants to play for Man U. I think he wants to play well.
Certainly looks like the Pogba that everyone was raving about when
100%.
United re-signed him from Juventus.
Yeah, exactly.
So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, also with this United team, you don't know what could happen.
Yeah.
I mean, we know when Ollie started there, they went on their 14-match unbeaten run, and then all of a sudden they went into such horrible form. So coming up to that 14th game soon, so we'll have to have this conversation in a couple of weeks' time again. It might be completely different, but it is nice to see United kind of finding some form again. Obviously, they've been the subject of a lot of debate and critique for not being Manchester United. So from a neutral perspective, I guess it's nice to see them back on top of the Premier League playing well.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
So there's one other thing I wanted to bring up, which is the conversation of free agents, and one of those players is Wijnaldum.
Gigi.
So Wijnaldum's contract will be expiring, and he will then be a free agent, and it's interesting as to whether or not they would re-sign him, because they've just got Thiago, and Thiago is, he's just started playing again after not the smoothest start into the Liverpool squad. He had an injury, and then there were some complications, but he's now started, and it might take a while to get into the thick of things. But I mean, Do you think that Thiago will ultimately be the replacement for Wijnaldum?
It's tough because you got to look at the age. Thiago's obviously in his 30s now. And if I remember correctly, Wijnaldum's in his late 20s. So this, I guess, is similar to the whole Pjanic Arthur story with Juventus and Barcelona. No one could understand why would you replace your young up-and-coming midfielder with an aging midfielder.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not too dissimilar to that. Without a doubt, Thiago could very easily replace Wijnaldum in that position. There's no doubt about that. I think at the end of the day, it'll probably come down to whether or not Wijnaldum wants to stay at Liverpool. And I don't know why he wouldn't. I mean, he starts almost every single game. He's one of Klopp's favourites. So I think it'll be difficult to see him leave. But obviously, you don't know what's going on in his mind. He might want a new challenge or something like that.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah.
Certainly, if a club does sign him on a free contract, that's one hell of a bargain.
Oh, absolutely. So clubs will be looking. I think the likes of Real Madrid, Barcelona, heck, PSG could use someone like Wijnaldum.
PSG could,
They could really use someone like him. So everyone will have their eyes open. If they can snatch up someone like that, absolutely. But yeah, I think Liverpool would want to keep him there. I mean, they've done so well with him.
Exactly.
I don't think you want to bring Thiago in 100% right now. I think it's good to ease him in, get used to the way that the team plays, the format, the structure.
Speaking of Thiago and going back to his old club, Bayern Munich now. Obviously last season they had such an incredible run in all competitions.
Yeah.
And now they got knocked out of the German Cup last night by a second-tier club.
Yeah.
And they've now had more defeats in the 14 days of 2021 than they did in the entirety of 2020.
Yeah.
So
it's all because of Thiago. Thiago's not there.
It's Thiago. Everything comes back to Thiago. The Thiago effect. That for me is an incredibly interesting stat to see how Bayern have dropped off now.
So yeah, kind of maybe sort of related to it. I'll come back to it. Is the idea of Sané just being signed by Bayern as well, and there was some drama at Bayern about Sané being purposefully substituted early on in the game to sort of teach him a lesson about the culture and to tell him that he should care more, because it's also a body language thing of him playing. So are there underlying problems at Bayern? I'm just speculating.
Well,
I don't know, but
I don't know if you remember it, but a couple of seasons ago, the German-based the German national players in that Bayern side were having problems with the non-German players for not very similar reason, not playing with pride for Bayern Munich and not actually playing with that passion and love that they should be playing for it, and not taking it as seriously. Obviously, Sané being German and playing for Schalke, who are Borussia Dortmund's big local rivals, and obviously now playing for Bayern, you would kind of expect it to come naturally to him.
Yeah.
But maybe after playing for Manchester City, this kind of marquee club in terms of spending power and all of that, maybe that's kind of maybe got into his head as being a superstar footballer. But also, I guess it's the younger side of football, having that kind of arrogance come confidence about you.
Yeah.
There's no doubt what Leroy Sané can do with the football. Everyone's seen that left foot is one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
But this is like what we were talking about with Ole and Pogba. When you stand up against a player and tell them, okay, well, you're going to sit on the bench now.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can have that conversation. Maybe they've tried talking to Sané and nothing's changed. So, okay, now we're going to have to do it the hard way. And you come off early.
Yeah.
Again, there's only one way to tell whether or not it works, if it's the right way, and that's to wait and see what the results are.
Look, I think it was drama in the end. Like, it wasn't something that they actually did. So it was a huge misunderstanding and speculation around that. But yeah, you as the manager, your job is to put players in line if their egos are not being checked. So maybe they've had that conversation, but maybe it's not even an issue. I think it's just worth bringing up that if they're having problems in their front three, they're not going to score goals. And that's who's responsible. Lewandowski is responsible for scoring goals. Sané is up there with him. If he's not playing well, Lero's not scoring, like 100%. So
yeah, of course it's.
And I mean, you had what was it? Perisic that was there.
Perisic, Gnabry, Coman. Obviously, Perisic not back at Inter.
Exactly. So he's out of the squad. He's back. Thiago's out of the squad. He's back. Now at Liverpool. So those are big changes in the squad. I mean, at least I would say. I mean, Thiago probably one of the bigger changes. I think it does make an impact. I really think it does. Thiago's performance in the Champions League final was probably one of the best midfield performances ever. Like he was so dominant in holding the ball and so in control. So, losing someone like that has got to have a huge effect on your team. It has to.
Oh yeah, of course.
I know they're a fantastic team, and I know they can work around it, but it's got to have an impact. So yeah.
Look, especially when it's a player who's been there for such a long time, like he has.
Exactly.
So, you obviously then got to take into consideration not only what happens on the pitch, but what happens off the pitch, in the dressing room, in the training ground. That kind of character and personality that someone like that could bring.
Yeah.
If he's one of the leaders in the team, that's now a leader gone. Does someone else step up? Do the other leaders now take more responsibility? So it's not only on the pitch what you have to consider.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But yeah, very interesting stat. And maybe it doesn't mean anything. Maybe they'll get back to winning ways now. But definitely being knocked out of the cup, at least.
Look, it certainly gives them time to focus on the league and the Champions League. So
sure, but I
don't think they'll be too. No.
They will not be, considering how many trophies they won last year.
Yeah, obviously they'll be disappointed in being knocked out. But I don't think they're going to dwell on it too much.
Oh, sure. I
think they'll get on with it very quickly.
If they don't win the league,
that's a different story. Then you're talking problems.
Then the problems.
So.
And yeah, they also need to check their Champions League performance. So yeah, it'll be an interesting season to watch how they bounce back from this and what happens. So. Yeah.